Supervisors for Tuesday, May 5th, 2020. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll and establish a quorum?
Supervisors Frost.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Natoli.
Here.
Peters. Here. Cerna.
Here.
And you have a quorum. This meeting of the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The meeting is closed caption and is webcast at sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will be repeated Friday, May 8th at 6 p.m. on Channel 14. This meeting is also broadcast live on KUBU Radio on 96.5 FM. A DVD copy is available for checkout from any local library branch, and also silence your electronic devices at this time, please.
Great, thank you. Please rise and join me in the pledge. Okay, as has become required, I'm going to make this special announcement. In compliance with directives of the county, state, and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, this meeting is live streamed and closed to the public. Temporary procedures are subject to change pursuant to guidelines related to social distancing and minimizing person-to-person contact. Members of the public are encouraged to submit public comments electronically, which will be accepted until the adjournment of the meeting. The clerk's office will distribute electronic comments to board members, and comments will be filed in the record. Send comments to the clerk at boardclerk@saccounty.net. That's Sac County spelled SACCOUNTY. Include the meeting date, agenda item number, or write off agenda matter if the comment is related to an item that is not on the posted agenda. It is optional to include your first and last name. Please visit the Board of Supervisors Public Meetings webpage for detailed information related to agendas and general information at bospublicmeetings.saccounty.net. And then I also wanted to make a few announcements and acknowledgments at the beginning of the meeting. Of course, I want to continue to, on behalf of the board, thank our first responders in our community throughout the county, especially our doctors, nurses, and healthcare professionals who are on the front line of addressing the COVID-19 pandemic. So, of course, you have the thanks of this board and our entire executive team here in Sac County. I want to also thank all of our workers who are continuing to provide services during the pandemic to our constituents that deserve them. And I really want to express my thanks to those that are addressing food issues here in Sacramento County. I had the pleasure of volunteering some time alongside our county deputies and CHP officers and CHP cadets last Thursday at my alma mater, Christian Brothers High School, which is one of two sites each Thursday where the Sacramento Food Bank and Family Services, under the leadership of Blake Young, the president and CEO of the Sacramento Food Bank, is doing food distribution, drive-through food distribution. It was a very impressive operation to see all that activity, all the food that was going to deserving families in a time of crisis. So I want to thank especially Sacramento Food Bank and Family Services for the outstanding work that they're continuing to do. Of course, today is Cinco de Mayo. It's also Giving Tuesday, as has become expected each time this year. This is the week, the day that we really focus on across the country, making sure that we are thoughtful about our charitable contributions. And here in Sacramento County, obviously, we are blessed with a whole host of nonprofits that do tremendous work, and that work is really being showcased, of course, during this current health crisis. So there's certainly no shortages of places that people can explore where they can donate their tax-deductible contributions to an army of volunteer organizations and nonprofits doing great work. I just mentioned one of them here in Sacramento County, so I'd encourage everyone to please consider giving today. I also want to do a special shout out to a couple of folks here in our county family. Renee McLean White, who is one of our assistant clerks. She, along with Carmen Garcia Gomez, who is one of our staff with First 5 Sacramento, they have been making these great masks that are being distributed to families across the community. I know there's a lot of different efforts out there to help, and theirs has been focused on making these great homemade masks that are intended to keep people safe. And I really do want to express my thanks to them for doing that. So with that, our first item, please.
Okay, for your consent matters, items 1 through 36, you are adopting an urgency ordinance for item number 6, mitigate impacts from COVID-19 to supply chains and to construction and development activities by adopting an interim urgency ordinance and resolutions authorizing issuance of emergency temporary use of property permits, extending the date of certain entitlement or other approvals to December 31, 2021, extending building and other related permits to December 31, 2021, extension of improvement and grading plans and subdivision improvement agreements for up to 1 year, and emergency temporary use of assessor parcel numbers 06500300004, also ending in 023, and also ending in 018, and delegating issuance of an emergency temporary use permit. The environmental determination is exempt.
Great. I know that Supervisor Frost wants to make some comments about item 34. Do other members of the board? Yes, looks like everyone. So we'll go from right to left. Supervisor Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank staff on item number 6. I have said, I don't know, countless times in the last 7 years that the county always reacts slower than you think it should. In this case, we did not, and helped to save a significant employer in Sacramento County, and particularly in District 2 in Siemens. So I want to thank staff, Nav, you and your staff, for everything you did. You did it quickly and saved probably 400 jobs. So thank you.
Great, thank you for that. Supervisor Peters.
Thank you. I wanted the record reflect I'm recusing myself from item number 5, Madam Clerk, due potential conflict. And then also item 23 is the first renewal of the Watt 80 P-bid, and I'm very happy with how this P-bid has been working, and so happy that they were able to renew it, and it's made so much progress on the entrance to North Highlands. Very big day for them. Thank you.
We'll do Supervisor Frost last, since she has some comments. Supervisor Tully?
Yes, if I could, just wanted to comment on item 32. Maybe just read that into record. Okay.
Item 32, approve a revised framework agreement for developing a groundwater sustainability plan for the Cosumnes Groundwater Subbasin.
Yes, I would just want to express appreciation to our county staff, but also all the parties. This new revised framework covers phases 3 and 4 decision-making process, and we have until January 2022 to submit our groundwater sustainability plan for the affected basins. And I know that getting to this agreement, this revised framework, has not been easy, but certainly want to thank folks within our Department of Water Resources for their ongoing efforts and work. And so we've employed consultants, but also worked with elected boards and agencies from both in-county as well as the adjacent county in Amador County. And this is, critical. It has some critical timelines. We've got about 19 months to complete this effort. And again, there's been a lot of work thus far, but I know this hasn't been easy. And again, I just wanted to make sure that to compliment our staff for their ongoing engagement and leadership in this effort. So I know we've gotten some periodic updates from time to time, and I appreciate the work. A lot left to do, but certainly this is an important piece of information. And again, to compliment the work this brings us to this. I also just wanted to thank Supervisor Peters for her work on the It's hard to believe it's been 5 years for the re-up on the P-bed out there on White Avenue, but again, I know it took a lot to put that together, and a lot of good work's gone on. So certainly, thanks for your leadership, Susan, on that, and all the good work out there along
Good
the.
staff work, too.
Yeah. Thanks. That's all I have.
Supervisor Frost?
Yes, I also want to say, acknowledge the Watt Avenue P-bid, because they not only reduced crime and did so much good in North Highlands, but they've really been helpful for the Antelope P-bid, and all the P-bids are working together, helping each other be better. So it's exciting, and more coming. We're working on more of them, one in Orangevale. So congratulations, Supervisor Peters. I wanted to make a couple of comments regarding item 34, a resolution honoring a Food Allergy Awareness Week, which is May 10 through 16. And I think Alma was going to show a couple photos on the screen.
Supervisor Frost, may I? Madam Clerk, will you just please read 34 into the record? So we know.
Item 34 is a resolution honoring May 10th through 16th, 2020 as Food Allergy Awareness Week.
Great, thank you.
While we're focused on the coronavirus, there are other issues out there, and every day across America, thousands of children face threatening food allergies. Many people dismiss an allergy as a minor issue, but almost 200,000 children and their families face terrifying emergency room visits and hospitalization from food allergies every year, and some of them die. Anaphylaxis, the reaction to food allergy, can be lethal and avoidable if more people understood the serious risks associated with food allergies. Fewer parents would have to plan funerals, and fewer lives would be cut short. And we can help, not with another costly program or more government intrusion, but simply by helping promote awareness. And this morning, I am excited to share a couple of stories about some local girls. The first person is the Giorgio family, lives in Carmichael. Their daughter Natalie went to camp at Sacramento every summer. Nat's dad was an MD, and they were always careful about her peanut allergy. But other families didn't take the allergy seriously. They simply didn't know or understand food allergies could be life-threatening. One of her cabin mates shared a brownie made with peanut butter. Nat was 13 when the anaphylaxis closed her airways, and she suffocated to death in her mom's arms while her dad desperately injected her with an EpiPen. Another young lady, one I know very well, Tori. Tori is a twin who spent her first 6 months in neonatal intensive care unit at Sutter Memorial. Since then, Tori has overcome many challenges in her life and blossomed into a little warrior. Earlier this year, Tori bought her first formal dress and served as a junior bridesmaid in her uncle's wedding. The caterer was informed that Tori had a severe peanut allergy, but because they had not really been aware of food allergies can trigger by trace contamination, some of the food prep areas that were used for another wedding that did include nuts were used for the wedding that Tori was at. That tiny cross-contamination was enough. After dinner, her mother noticed hives, and within minutes, Tori was having trouble breathing. Fortunately, there was a pilot who was also an EMT. Tori was brave, but she knew Nat's story. Her tiny voice quivered as she tearfully asked her dad, "Am I going to die?" In the ambulance ride, EMTs administered 2 more epinephrine injections. She received 2 more in the ER and spent another day in the hospital. Fortunately, after a few weeks, Tori recovered. Terrifying experiences such as these, that these 2 young ladies could have been avoided if there was more awareness around the anaphylaxis and how it can impact someone with serious food allergies. I'm submitting this resolution to help raise awareness, and so these little girls like Natalie and Tori won't face the terror because people simply didn't understand or didn't know food allergies can kill. And in the picture, Tori's a twin, and she's the little redhead next to her dad. She's doing great, she's recovered, but I wanted to say something since I couldn't invite Tori down here to to celebrate that she made it through. But I wanted to shed some light on food allergies so people would just be aware how just a minute amount of cross-contamination can cause that anaphylaxis. So thank you very much for allowing me to do that.
Great.
Chair.
Thank you for those, that important reflection on those constituents who've gone through that. I appreciate that, Supervisor Frost. We all do. Supervisor Peters.
Thank you. There's one item I forgot. Usually this time of this week, we have a presentation to Linda Cutler, who's the CEO of the Big Day of Giving. And I just wanted to remind everybody that the Sacramento Region Community Foundation is hosting the 7th annual Big Day of Giving. They've raised almost $40 million over the years to improve the quality of life in our region. And this year, over 600 nonprofits will participate in Big Day of Giving. And I know it's a time that our minds are on a lot of other things, but the nonprofits are really suffering in this time. So many of them who have programs during this year have had to give up their entire program. They have no way to raise money to keep their operations running. So if you have the ability to give, please look on the Sacramento Region Community Foundation website and find your favorite nonprofit and make a contribution on Thursday. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, I do we have received a few comments for item 6. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
2.
2, all right. And that's all that we received for our consent calendar?
For consent, yes.
Okay, very good. All right, at this point, entertain a motion.
Approval.
Second.
Been moved by Supervisor Frost, seconded by Supervisor Tolley, and with the recusal identified by Supervisor Peters, please vote.
Unanimous vote, and let the record reflect that Supervisor Peters recused from item 5 for a potential conflict of interest.
Great, thank you. All right, next item, please.
Item 37 is the 7-Eleven at Stockton Boulevard and Florin Road project. I do need to take an oath for this. I'll go ahead and read the title on, and then if we could do the oath, just in case. Is there anyone here? I'm sorry. Got it. And we do have 2 public comments for item 37.
We did, yeah.
Okay, so a use permit, special development permit, a design review to allow a 24-hour automobile service station and 24-hour convenience store in the shopping center zoning district for a property located at the northeast corner of Florin Road and Stockton Boulevard intersection in the South Sacramento community. The environmental document is a negative declaration.
Good morning, members of the board, and I do have a PowerPoint.
We can't hear you.
I do have a PowerPoint
I
presentation.
think it's on.
Still can't hear you.
Can you? Yeah,
yes.
There we go. All right. I do have a PowerPoint presentation on this item. This is the 7-Eleven at Stockton and Florin. It's located at the northeast corner with an aerial shown on the left. This is in the South Sacramento community and the zoning shown on the right. What's that? That's an old photo. Okay. The request is a use permit to allow a 0.44 acre property in the shopping center zone to be used for a 24-hour automobile service station with a 1,680 square foot fuel canopy covering 3 pump islands, a little over 3,000 square foot convenience store, and a slightly taller fuel station roof structure. There's also a special development permit that in part is to deal with some deviations for an ultimate road right-of-way condition, and the deviations are listed on their slide, and a design review. This graphic shows the site plan, an interim plan and an ultimate plan, and the ultimate plan really relates to if there's ever a road widening project, what will happen, and a lot of the deviations have to do with when and if that road project ever happens, how the sidewalks and the landscaping will be treated. And this is how the landscaping will be treated. If the road widening project goes in, the sidewalk would end up being a separated sidewalk with associated landscaping. But the condition in the interim and for some foreseeable time will be the graphic on the left. Here are the elevations for a convenience store. It has a lot of articulation and a lot of detail. The Design Review Administrator and Design Review Advisory Committee have worked with the applicant. So it has a fair amount of treatment in terms of stone facade and windows, and it is oriented towards the corner. So for a convenience store, a relatively handsome building there on the empty corner. This also shows the fuel canopy, trash enclosure, and monument sign elevations. The South Sacramento Community Planning Advisory Council considered this at their September 18th meeting, and they did recommend denial of the project. I do want to note that the draft environmental justice element was at that same hearing, and there were a number of concerns expressed by folks who were there around the EJ element, and a certain amount, the board had not considered that environmental justice element yet. And so that may have had some effect on the recommendation for denial. The Design Review Advisory Committee met in August and recommends approval. And the Planning Commission considered this in January and recommends that the board approve the project. And they did address one of the comments that has come up since as well, and added a condition of approval number 18 regarding a fuel truck delivery path of travel. So the key points are the project meets location requirements for new primary automobile service stations. Staff concludes that it is compatible with surrounding commercial, vacant, and industrial uses, that it's consistent with the general plan and South Sacramento community plan, that findings can be made to support the special development permit, and that the initial study negative declaration identifies that the project would result in less than significant impacts. I did want to stop and comment a little bit about the letters. You have received correspondence from an adjacent property owner with some concerns about an access easement. There is an access easement that wraps the site, and staff have looked at that. There's been 3 comment letters from that adjacent property owner, one in December, that led to a delay in the Planning Commission, in holding the Planning Commission hearing while we could analyze whether there were any issues that we felt had concerns. There was then another letter before the Planning Commission that was deliberated and considered at the Planning Commission, which led to this revised condition 18 and a revised sort of path of travel, where the fuel delivery trucks will come in off of Florin. They will fuel on site. They will use that long-standing existing easement to exit along the north boundary of the property and to leave out on Stockton Boulevard. And that was the nature of one of the comments letters that you received on May 4th. Then this morning, you also got a follow-up letter from the applicant with correspondence from their attorney and their surveyor indicating their conclusion that they do have valid rights to that easement, and that is what staff concluded back in January when we looked at the same issue. So that correspondence is there. I also wanted to point out that this has a lot of the typical conditions that you look for. There are a host of conditions having to do with the SEPTED landscaping and lighting and securities and sheriff conditions. The fresh food condition is on here, requiring this 7-Eleven to also provide fresh food. So that wraps up the staff presentation. Are there any questions?
Supervisor Kenny?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I've met with the applicant more than once. They have been extremely responsible and responsive. This particular corner is, I wish that this was taking care of the whole problem at this corner. It's a very small portion of it, but that's for a variety of reasons, none of which have to do with this applicant. I thank staff for the conditions that have been placed upon this project. I think it's going to improve the area. So with that, I will move for staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any comment, questions from other members of the board? Supervisor Tully.
Yes, I certainly appreciate the work my colleague has done, certainly working with our staff. And like him, I'm very familiar with the corner. And, you know, there were predecessor businesses here. There was a Wendy's restaurant there one time and a Boston Market. And obviously the property owned by the adjacent property owner has been vacant for many, many years. I know there's been a lot of work by economic development and certainly Supervisor Kennedy, and I think even Supervisor Yee before that, to try to, you know, bring about some redevelopment on the larger site. I intend to support the use permit and special development permit. We'll have a hearing in a moment on the PCN. I have some different views on that, but I just want to say I appreciate, I think, certainly the review on the architecture and, you know, trying to get on a difficult site, but a very busy corner, and one obviously that has a good deal of pass-by traffic, and certainly having uses that support the, you know, residents of the area, but also folks that come in and out of the area along Stockton Boulevard and Florence Road is very important. So I tend to support this portion of the application. Thanks.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Unanimous vote.
Thank you.
Item 38 is the PCN at the 711 Stockton Boulevard and Florence Road. This is a request for a public convenience or necessity letter from the Board of Supervisors to issue a Type 20 off-sale beer and wine liquor license for a new 7-Eleven convenience store located at the northeast corner of the Stockton Boulevard and Florence Road intersection in the South Sacramento community.
So I also have a PowerPoint presentation for this item. So this is the accompanying request for a finding by the board, PCN finding, prior to issuance of an alcohol permit by the state for the 7-Eleven. Again, you've already seen the aerial, and this is for a Type 20, which is off-sale beer and wine, not full liquor, to accompany their activity. We have done an analysis of both the census district as well as the 1 mile radius. This is the 1 mile radius map there. So the PCN is required at this location due to both overconcentration and high crime. Within a 1 mile radius, there are 20 existing establishments with off-sale liquor licenses, 10 Type 20 and 10 Type 21. The requested license location is within the South Sacramento environmental justice community. Staff concludes that the project is consistent with the environmental justice element, which was adopted by the board, in that it promotes a revitalization of that corridor. It does have the fresh food requirement, so the convenience store will provide a variety of services in addition to the beer and wine. And the immediate surrounding uses are predominantly vacant, commercial or industrial. There are 4 schools located within a 1 mile radius, but none of them are within a 500 foot area. There are 6 daycares within a 1 mile radius, but again, none of them are immediately contiguous or immediately proximate to this site. This item again was at the CPAC on that same prior date, and they did recommend denial on a 4-0 vote. Staff is recommending approval based on the fact that it is a variety of items that would be sold at the store, not only alcohol, but convenience items, including the fresh food condition. It does incorporate SEPTED principles in the layout. It requires installation of new public infrastructure and therefore creates an active use on a historically underutilized and recently vacant property. There are no sensitive uses in the context of liquor licenses within 500 feet. And the Sheriff's Department is also willing to withdraw opposition if the recommended conditions are placed on the ABC license, and they are all on that license. So that concludes the staff presentation.
Great, thanks. Any questions of staff? No? Okay. Then entertain a motion.
Wait, Don just came up.
Oh, Supervisor Tully.
Yeah, I would just say that, again, I'm appreciative of the fact that businesses want to locate in this general vicinity, but I am concerned about the concentration of licenses. And again, you want good active uses. I recognize that it's a part of business plans for a lot of service stations and convenience markets that they believe the necessity to have beer and wine license. But when I look at the look at the radius map, it tells a pretty important story, at least in my view, that when we find 10 liquor licenses for full liquor distilled spirits, and then 10 additional off sale in the proximity. And certainly in light of I think the CPAC's consideration, again, I don't know what all went into that discussion. Obviously, we have the format here. It just gives me room for pause, and I certainly shared that with Supervisor Kennedy this morning, and I don't intend to support the PCN at this point in time. I appreciate the fresh food sales. I don't see this as being necessary. Certainly, it's an item of convenience, but I look at proximity. I mean, you can almost throw a rock to 4 or 5 of those locations. And I know that a couple of those locations, again, I'm certain that Supervisor Kennedy has been familiar, but a couple of those have been problematic over time in the general vicinity. And in my view, there's no lack of access to a full range of spirits and beer and wine in this area, and so I don't intend to support the PCN. Thanks.
Supervisor Kennedy.
Thank you, Chair. I respect and don't necessarily completely disagree with Supervisor Natoli as far as the overconcentration, but I think this particular applicant will be one of the better actors in the area. And going forward, as we clean up this area, we need to go after the bad actors and really fix that. I think that this is a vital part of their business case, and without it, I don't know that they will intend to even go in. So therefore, I'm supporting the PCN.
Okay. Someone like to make a motion?
I will move the staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Please vote.
And the motion carries with Supervisor Natoli voting against this project.
Okay. Next item, please.
Item 39 is the Napa Valley subdivision, a community plan amendment, rezone, tentative subdivision map, a design review for a property located at 8989 Lemus Road in the Vineyard community. The environmental document is a mitigated negative declaration.
And I also have a PowerPoint on this item. All right, so as indicated by the clerk, this is 8989 Lemus Road. It's approximately 1,000 feet east of Elk Grove, Florin. There was a request for a community plan amendment, rezone, subdivision map, and design review. And this is a long-standing vacant site. I believe it was an older home. I don't know if it was a farmhouse quite, but one of the older homes from the original community. And one of the interesting and sort of challenging features of developing this property has been this Lemus Road, which was kind of the driveway back to the original older home. And that has presented a unique challenge to various developers and applicants as they've tried to tackle this site into how to deal with this remnant road and what to do. And so in this case, the applicant has worked very much with us to try to resolve that issue. And I wanted to point it out while we were on that graphic so you could see that there. So it's a 2.6 acre site, and they're mending it from agricultural residential 10, which is a 10 acre minimum, down to a typical residential 5, with a rezone there to RD5 and a subdivision map to divide this into 14 single family lots, and initially 1 lot for Lemus Road that will then not be a lot at the end of things. So this is the tentative subdivision map for the 14 lots. Access will be taken off of the Napa Valley Court, I think it is, Napa Valley Road. Cul-de-sac there, and that older Lemus Road with the driveway is at the bottom left of the property. So again, it's accessed from Napa Valley Road. We evaluated nuisance activities on Lemus and our desire to address those issues with the entitlement request. The applicant has conducted neighborhood meetings, and the result of all of that is the applicant agreeing to work with us to process boundary line adjustments as shown on this graphic, so that that old driveway / road will be abandoned back to each of the property owners. And this is, you can see why it is challenging for applicants to take on these infill sites because of the burden and the cost that then falls on them to sort of address this. But it was necessary because we did not want to see a homeless encampment occurring behind these people's homes on this old abandoned and unmonitored road. So the applicant, Mr. Kautz, who actually is in the lobby today, has been working proactively to figure out how to resolve this, and he is working with these property owners to abandon the road back so that they each gain a greater backyard. He's also agreed, and one of the conditions that was worked out in the Planning Commission is to put a wood fence out on Elk Grove Florin to block off that end while this is all being processed so that folks can't move in to that road. The Vineyard Community Planning Advisory Council met back in April and recommended approval of the project. They did recommend a condition that all the homes be single story, and staff is not recommending that, and I'll explain that in a minute. The Design Review Advisory Committee recommends approval, and the Planning Commission considered this in February and also recommends approval. There were testimony by 2 neighbors at that Planning Commission hearing requesting single-story homes. Planning typically, unless there are unusual topography or site conditions, we do not like to blanket require single-story homes because there's no requirement on the adjacent home that they be single-story, and over time, over decades, it becomes very difficult for planning to follow up on these conditions and remember that some particular lot in the county has a single-story restriction. So there were a number of conditions of approval that I wanted to cover. I'm going to start with the condition number 8 at the bottom of the slide, which is that prior to issuance of building permits, there will be a design review that will be noticed to the neighbors so that we can look at how the layouts relate to each individual home. It's not a prohibition against single stories, but it would allow us to look at windows and adjacent site conditions. So that was what was worked out at the Planning Commission to address those neighbors' concerns rather than a blanket single story condition. And then there are a number of conditions that I've referenced before, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 4, 5, and 6 all dealing with the Lemus Road issue, and 7 creating a bioretention area up on Napa Valley with these lots A and B. So with all of that, staff is recommending approval of the project with the various conditions. And here are the recommended actions that I'm not going to read. They're in your report. And I'm ending with the map in case there are any questions.
Thank you. Supervisor Tully?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that the history was contained in the staff report, and this is obviously now in District 2, but back in 2005 when some of the original submittal was, well, not the original submittal, going back to the 80s, and the reason for the driveway, actually, there was, as you said, it was a rural farmhouse. The gentleman drove an older pickup truck, and he'd had access out to Elk Grove Florin Road for all the years that he lived there, which were many at that time, and he wanted to preserve his access. He didn't want to go through the subdivision in order to, get out to, to Elk Grove Florin Road. And the board at the time, obviously, agreed to allow him to do that. But in 2005, when the original submittal came in, that's been processed here, that came to the board in 2007, or came to the Planning Commission in 2007, we had a couple of community meetings and talked about what's been proposed here, which was to do the boundary line adjustments. But there wasn't a willingness at that time to necessarily help process that. Folks were going to have to do that individually or as a package and pay their own way. And so I just wanted to say that the solution set here is a creative one. It deals with an issue that has a history going back, close to 40 years, probably 35 years on the property and adjacent development in the Vineyard area. And again, I just compliment Mr. Kautz, certainly his engineer, Supervisor Kennedy, and for his involvement, because this has a lot of history. And I know that in recent years, once the house had been it's abandoned, it's now been demolished, but that there was a lot of activity along that roadway was causing some neighborhood concerns and so forth. But this is a good solution, and again, compliments to staff for your work, but also to those that have worked on this. So I certainly would support a motion by the supervisor of the district if he's so inclined. So, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? Supervisor Kenny?
Thank you, Supervisor Natoli. I don't need to say anything now because you're absolutely correct. So with that, I will move staff recommendations.
I second it.
Okay, it's been moved by Supervisor Kennedy and seconded by Supervisor Tolley. No further questions, please vote.
Unanimous vote.
Great, thank you. Okay, next item, please.
Okay. Item 40 is the County Service Area Number 10, Benefit Zone Number 4, public hearing on the tabulation of protest ballots and establish service charges.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Dorothy Kodani. I'm a senior civil engineer with the County Engineering Division, and I'll be here to present the item as just read into the record by the clerk. County Service Area Number 10 was formed in May of 2003 to establish a financing mechanism for trip reduction activities. And those activities can include shuttles, van pools, and promotion of travel alternatives to area residents, employers, and schools. On March 10th, the board formed Benefit Zone Number 4, which encompasses the Easton development located on approximately 8,500 acres owned by the Aerojet Corporation in eastern Sacramento County. And also on March 10th, today was set as the public hearing. And in response to that March 10th action, notices and ballots were mailed to the owners of property within Zone 4 on March 20th. And if there are no questions from your board, we recommend that the board open the public hearing, consider all written and oral testimony, consider all objections and protests, close the public hearing, and direct the clerk to tabulate the protest ballots. And dependent on the tabulation of the ballots, we have 2 other recommendations to follow.
Great, thank you. So this is a public hearing item. I will open the public hearing, ask the clerk if we've received any comments electronically.
No comments.
Okay, I will close the public hearing. Okay, any questions, comments, or motions from the board?
You need to,
You need to read.
direct me to tabulate.
Oh, right, go ahead.
So we have 2 ballots. This is the first ballot for the Easton Place and Glenboro at Easton Special Planning Areas. The legal owner is Easton Development Company, LLC. The site address is Folsom Boulevard, 2006 Aerojet Road in Rancho Cordova, 95742. And they are in favor. And this is the second ballot for the Easton Place in Glenboro at Easton Special Planning Areas. The legal owner is Aerojet Rocketdyne Incorporated. Site address is Folsom Boulevard, Rancho Cordova, 95742, and they are in favor as well.
Thank you, Flo. It makes the math easy for me, which is good. So with that, we have 2 recommendations, and the first is to adopt the attached ordinance to establish a service charge, and there are some fill-ins in the resolution that I can read into the record. Section 2, at the close of the tabulation, the board received 0 oral and written protests, which the board has duly considered. Section 3, at the close of the tabulation, the board received 2 protest ballots totaling 100% of the total amount to be levied, of which 100% was in favor of the service charge and 0% was in opposition. And the second action that we have to recommend is to introduce an ordinance providing for a procedure for collection of the service charge for certain miscellaneous extended transportation related services within CSA 10 Benefit Zone 4 to waive the full reading of the ordinance and continue the ordinance to May 19th for adoption.
Okay. Supervisor Tolley?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I would move the recommendation noting the fill-ins that we have 100% participate, 100% of the ballots in casting votes in
Second.
favor.
It's been moved by Supervisor Tolley, seconded by Supervisor Peters. No further questions, please vote.
Unanimous vote.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 41 is the County Service Area 1. Conduct a public hearing on the fiscal year 2021 service charges, confirm the written report, and adopt resolution setting service charges for fiscal year 2020-21.
Hi, I'm Russ Childers with the County Department of Transportation. We have a PowerPoint, hopefully very brief, and hopefully I'll be able to do this.
Madam Clerk, can you assist?
I'm sorry.
Why are we not going forward? Is that the forward button? There we go. Got it. What we're asking your board to do today is to open the public hearing on the written report for the fiscal year 2021 County Service Area 1 charges, receive any public testimony, and adopt the resolution confirming the written report and setting rates for fiscal year 2021. County Service Area 1 funds the maintenance and operation and electrical cost of streetlights and safety lights. The standard service charges, the legacy charges for the vast majority of properties in the county have been fixed for the last 24 years. They were capped by Proposition 218. Those rates, as you see on this chart for 2021 are the same as 2019 and 2020. And we would have to have a ballot procedure at some point if we wanted to raise those service charges. The enhanced and decorative streetlight charges created in 2006 do have an inflation factor. It's indexed either to the Consumer Price Index or to the SMUD electrical rate increases. This table is from the Sacramento Municipal Utility District General Manager's report from June of last year. These are their anticipated rate increases for the next couple of fiscal years. They're anticipating an 11.25% increase in electrical rates. The service charges for enhanced and decorative have an inflation factor. We're capped at 5%, so these annual charges you see for 2021 are 5% higher than the rates in 2019 and 2020 to reflect the anticipated SMUD electrical rate increases. Don't spend a lot of time on this. Approximately 84% of our inventory has been retrofitted to light-emitting diode luminaires. We're saving a lot of energy, but unfortunately we have two loans that were utilized to make that project possible, and we're still making payments on those loans. So we're not seeing an actual fund balance that we would be able to spend on any projects just yet. Which is what I just covered. Approximately $525,000 of savings at some point will be utilized when we pay off the SMUD and Energy Commission loans. The SMUD loan ends in the middle of 2021. So what we're asking your board to do today is to open the public hearing on the written report for fiscal year 2021, receive any public testimony, close the hearing, and adopt the resolution confirming the written report and establishing fiscal year 2021 service charges. I did publish notice twice in the Sacramento Bee, and I have received no direct comments from the public.
All right, thank
That's
you.
it.
Supervisor Tully?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Russ, this may be for you, but also for Mr. Hartwig, that in recognizing that the rates have been what they have been for, better than 2 decades now, and I know that that's certainly put some fiscal duress on the department as relates to not just the energy charges and certainly the ongoing maintenance, but it certainly pretty much put a halt on any installation of additional safety lighting, and I'm talking mostly about the rural areas here now. And I guess my question is, and again, maybe to you, maybe to Mr. Hartwig, but as we've looked at some of the rural intersections, again, I've noted this in conversations about issues related to accidents, to roads that have, very narrow shoulders, that have hard 90-degree intersections. Speeds have increased, volumes have increased in rural areas. There seems to be some resistance to stop signs is being a control measure, but I guess when it comes to the conditions I'm talking about, it would seem to me that this kind of blanket approach to no longer installing safety lights because of the cost, and I get it, that if we're not going to utilize stop signs, at least from a staff perspective, and we've had conversation around a couple of locations that I have concerns about and have heard from folks in the area, there are probably at least a couple candidate locations, but I guess one of the things I've talked about with folks is that in light of what I mentioned relative to some of the safety factors, where lighting, particularly in the evening hours and certainly in the winter hours and when we have longer nighttime and darkness, are really important. And again, they've made a big difference in many of the rural locations, and I note that. And so I guess my question is, loan payoff or not, is there going to be some change in the ability to consider the safety lighting? Because again, I know, Rusty, you've managed the program very well, and thank you for your assistance over the years. But we have installed very, very few. I can think of maybe one or two over the last 10 years in locations where, again, I think that stop signs would make better sense from a standpoint of 24-hour compliance, but certainly safety lighting when you have the speeds and folks that aren't familiar with the area. We have a lot of commute traffic going through. So I guess my question is, are we going to have some policy direction around that, or do you need it from this board as relates to, again, I'm kind of mixing two things here, but it's very important, I think, from the standpoint of the residents in those areas, but certainly all the pass-through traffic that we're seeing. So my question is, are we going to now open up the opportunity to look at safety lighting, not just the opportunity, but actually consideration of that? Recognize there are costs associated with that, and again, you've done a good job managing that, Russ. So I guess that's to you or to Mr. Hartwig. So.
Well, I'll go first, and Russ can fill in blanks. As he mentioned, that one of the loans will be paid off in about a year.
Middle of 2021.
So we would look at the funding that is available from no longer paying that loan to be able to apply it toward safety lighting programs for sure, if that's the board's desire, which I believe it probably would be. The other challenge with CSA1, I believe, and Russ and maybe County Council can weigh in, is the mechanism to increase the rates on this one is somewhat different than basic water and sewer utilities. And instead of a majority protest, this one, I believe, requires that a positive number of votes come in favor of raising those rates.
That is correct, and we tried that
and we got waxed really bad. We got 80-20 against.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad shellac.
80%, yeah. But I guess so. My question is that again, whether it's been departmental policy or just management because of cost control, we've done very, very few. And again, there's been a couple of locations where there was some accommodation. But I guess at one time we went out and we looked at rural intersections. As long as we had a power supply. And we lit a lot of rural intersections 25 years ago. And we obviously did in some of the suburban areas or areas where there was fill-ins. But again, I've certainly been very respectful of that. But if we're taking a new approach about control intersections and visibility and such, we're not going to change the road structure out there. But the traffic patterns are changing. The speeds are, particularly when the freeways get congested, we're finding going through rural communities, and not just in the Delta, but in the Herald and Wilton and Slough House areas, areas adjacent to Elk Grove, in the areas surrounding Galt. And so, again, I'd like to see a comprehensive approach because, again, if we're not going to use stop controls, and we've had this conversation, so I'm not, then lighting is one element that I think can improve safety, at least during the nighttime hours. And so I guess I'd like to see us, have some relaxation of that, and we're not going to go crazy and and certainly break the budget. But again, you've managed it very well, Russ, you and the department. But I think it's time for us to then have some additional look at the ability to light some of those rural intersections that haven't been lit where there is a power source. And obviously, the initial installation, a couple $1,000, I think, to put the light in initially, assuming it fits. On the rural, on the poles out there, and then there's ongoing lighting charge and the maintenance that go with that. And you've worked with SMUD, and SMUD's been a good partner on a lot of these. So could I anticipate then that we're going to have some further discussion regarding this and not just wait for a loan payoff? I mean, again, there's a couple locations I'd like to take a look at this year.
If you can give us what locations, we could start researching that.
Sure.
If you can get us that.
Very good. Yeah. Thanks.
Because I have no idea what size program you're thinking about.
Yeah, no, I wasn't, I said, I'm not, looking at dozens, but there are some rural locations that, we're going to think that, we're bypassing years past, and, maybe traffic patterns have changed, so
No, we understand
yeah.
that. If you give us the information to our office, we'll work with transportation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So this requires public hearing, so I will go ahead and open the public hearing. Any comments received electronically, Madam Clerk?
No comments.
Okay, close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I move the staff recommendation.
It's been moved by Supervisor Tully and seconded by Supervisor Kennedy. If there's no further questions, please vote.
Unanimous vote.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Russ.
Okay.
Item 42 are your nominations. You are continuing to June 16th, the Carmichael Old Foothill Farms Community Planning Advisory Council, Casumnas Area Community Planning Advisory Council, In-Home Supportive Services Advisory Committee, Local Child Care Planning and Development Council, North Highlands and Foothill Farms Community Planning Advisory Council, and the Vineyard Area Community Planning Advisory Council. And for your matters today, the Antelope Community Planning Advisory Council.
Continue to June 16, please.
Okay. Delta Citizens Municipal Advisory Council.
Continue to May 19th, please.
The Galt Arno Cemetery District.
May 19th. I have pending interviews on both of those. Thanks.
Orangeville Community Planning Advisory Council.
I nominate Diane Ebbett and continue the remainder to June 16, please.
Sacramento County Mental Health Board.
Please continue to June 16th.
Okay. Supervisor Frost.
I'm sorry.
Supervisor Frost, do you want to continue that?
Please continue to June 16.
Okay. Sacramento County Youth Commission.
I'd like to nominate Haley Malkin as a District 3 nominee.
Okay. And Supervisor Natoli.
We don't have any applicants. We've done some outreach. Obviously, with the school year being interrupted the way it has been, it's been very difficult. So continue that until June
2nd or June 16th?
16th, please. Thanks.
Okay. Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Commission. Supervisor Kennedy.
I'd like to nominate Daryl Wu.
Okay. And then we have the South Sacramento Area Community Planning Advisory Council.
Continue to June 2nd.
Okay, and that concludes your nominations.
Very good, thank you. We do have a closed session, and Mr. CEO, we are meeting on the 7th floor?
Yes, we are.
Okay, very good. We are recessed to closed session.